Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So, the kids and their mother are out of town, so I've got a quiet, empty, lonely, and sad house without my babies around. And I haven't posted in like a month, so I need to post something. So I'm gonna do, today we're gonna do Phillies. So a couple things, these are not going to be like traditional Phillies or anything. I'm going to, all right. So I was at the store yesterday and I was like, oh, I'm kind of craving Phillies and, it's awesome. So I grabbed bread and cheese and an onion and all that. But then in my head, I was like, I have beef in the freezer at home. And usually I just use ground beef or something. Well, I come home and there's not ground beef there. There wasn't. It was, and so what we're gonna do tonight is we're just gonna do pork Phillies. I have a ton of pork in the freezer and I've thawed some, and so that's what we're gonna use today. So, but come along. I'm gonna show you how I do Phillies. And I'm gonna do it two different ways, okay? I've got one big Italian loaf, and I'm gonna do half and half on it. So, and I'll show you kind of a right and proper way of doing it. Well, I mean a popular way of doing it, and then I'm gonna show you how I like to do it. My own little version of it. And I really do recommend that you give it a try. So come along and let's make some Phillies. All right, so to season up the meat a little bit, and I'll probably season it to taste while we're doing it. I'm just gonna start with a little bit of Lawry's garlic salt. You can never go wrong with garlic or salt. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just, I'm gonna add some paprika here. All right, flip it over. Do the same thing on the other side. And that's fine. And what I'm actually gonna do from here is I'm gonna slice these really, really thin. And then I'll probably, as I cook and taste, I'll probably add a little bit more salt or something else. So I might even dash that with some black pepper or some cumin or something as well. And voila! So I went ahead and I took all that pork and I shaved off as skinny as little slices as I possibly could, and that's ready to cook. Another thing to also note is that if you're gonna use like chicken breast or something like that, tenderize it first. That's what I did with this pork, is I laid them, these pork chops, is I laid them out, beat them down with the tenderizer, and then seasoned them as you saw me do. And now I just got done slicing them really skinny. So we're gonna cook that up, and we're gonna get some Philly action going here. All right, so a little bit of olive oil. There's not as much fat in these pork chops, so we're gonna add a little bit of our own oil on here. Also, feel free to add whatever oil you like. I'm just using a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm gonna put it at about medium heat. And once that gets sizzling, I'll dump my meat in. Oh, GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. All right. Well, while the oil heats up over there on the pan, I'm gonna go ahead and get the bread ready. So, easy peasy. I got myself a loaf of Italian bread. This is not anything super crazy. I just bought it at the Kroger down the road. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and it doesn't have a pre-cut line in it or anything, so I'm gonna go ahead and make that myself. All right. It's almost like filleting a fish. All right, there we go. So once we get that down, probably move this down a little bit here. All right. I would just say take some of the insides out. Eat it, Usually I give this to my son, but he's not here. And then do the same thing on both sides. You're just kind of cutting a little trench. And that just allows you to pile more stuff in there. So get that out of there. Oh, that's good. All right. Yeah, and that's all we need to do to the bread. We're gonna pile all that stuff in there. We're gonna sit this in the oven, let it brown down once we get all of our meat and veggies and everything else in there. So we're moving, we're cooking, we're doing Phillies. All right, so our oil's pretty much heated up at this point. Let's go ahead and get that in there. Get it all good and spread out. Oh, it smells fantastic. Let's see. But yeah, so I'm just going to brown this down. And once it's done, I'll probably transfer it off. And then I'm going to cut up an onion. And then we'll do onion. And obviously you can do any old ingredient you want. These are Phillies. If you want to be like a traditionalist, it's basically meat, cheese, and optional onion. And that's kind of what I usually go for with a Philly. But if you like the bell peppers and the mushrooms and jalapenos and all that stuff, you can do that as well. So, but I am going to do just sort of the traditional with onions, and I'm also gonna do one side with provolone, one side with just regular old Kraft cheese as my cheese whiz alternative. But yeah, and I'll show you how I like my Phillies. So, but yeah, this is coming along. This is coming along well. So this should be done here. I slice these so thin that they should be done pretty quickly. So, see you in a minute. All right, so that meat's coming along pretty well here. What I'm going to go ahead and do now, I'm actually going to add just a little bit more oil over here on this side of the pan. You see how it kind of moved everything off to the side? I'm going to add my onions in here. And there we go. And just, you know, whatever. As they cook, they'll kind of break apart, you know, and do their thing. And then, yeah, then we'll just get this all mixed up. I'm going to probably taste a piece of this meat here in a minute, just to make sure that the seasoning's where I want it, and then I'll go from there. All right, so yeah, everything's coming together pretty good. So I did try out a little piece of meat. I did add a little bit more salt to it and a little bit more pepper. Paprika is on point. You know, and one other ingredient that I actually did put in there that I didn't mention, or that I just added just for the sake of it, was a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. So, and I think this is going to be really good once it's done. Now what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to turn this down to low heat. I'm going to put a lid on this, and we're going to simmer it. I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or something like that. Really soften it up, really get those flavors in there. All right, so we got our bread here, obviously. I probably could have done a little bit of a better job on that. Yeah, and so all we're gonna do from here, pile this meat in, or this meat and onion. I'm gonna pile that in there. Oh, it smells fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. All right, and I need to do a little bit better on this here. All right. Got our meat, we got our onions. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, let me rinse my hands. turn your oven to broil, okay? So, but here's what we're gonna do. On one side of this, I need to distribute this out a little bit better here. On one side of this guy, I'm licking my fingers because I'm not cooking for anybody else. I'm going to layer down a bunch of provolone cheese. Yeah, I'm not passing any health inspector things, but when I'm just cooking for myself, I don't have to worry about the health inspector. I love cheese, so I'm gonna put a little bit of extra provolone on there. Yeah, maybe one more slice. All right, that's half. On the other half, if you're like me, this changed my life. All right, I was back in, there used to be a little Philly. It was called the Philly Sandwich Company in Old Town Scottsdale. And one of the owners said, hey man, you should try this out. And he gave me a Philly. It was beef, it wasn't pork. But I've tried it with chicken and pork and beef and everything else since, and it's still good. But he gave that to me. And yeah. I mean, it was probably the greatest thing that I had ever tasted in my life. It is a Philly with pepperoni and Cheese Whiz. Now, I don't actually have Cheese Whiz. What I do have are Kraft singles. And so they're pretty much the same thing. So we're just gonna use these Kraft singles here, and we're gonna get that done. And that's gonna be real good. So I set my oven to broil, and it should be up at heat here pretty shortly. And I'm just gonna put this in there long enough to kind of just barely toast it, and also mostly just melt the cheese. So stick around. Five minutes. It cooks quick, so 5 minutes should do it. All right, 5-minute timer's up. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The bun's toasted a little bit more than I'd normally like, but whatever. I ain't complaining. That looks good. All right, and that's it, guys. I got these cut up. Let's give them a whirl. All right, so here's our one with just straight pork, onion, and provolone. That's good. You could probably use a little more salt. All right, and then on to our processed cheese and pepperoni with pork and onion side. Oh man. Oh dude. Yeah. That's what's that right there. It would be better if it were beef, but even the pork, that's not hurting my feelings at all. That's great. So, next time you make a Philly, they're super easy to make, super fast. I think I've been cooking maybe for 20 minutes, maybe 25 if you consider like broiling it. Yeah, this is fantastic. And I definitely recommend just go the processed cheese route one time just so you can try it out. It's the most unhealthy thing in the world, but it's delicious. Yes, processed cheese, whether it's actual Cheese Whiz, a Kraft single or something, and then try pepperoni. Pepperoni, beef, onions, bread, processed cheese. You can't beat it. You just can't. So, but anyways, thanks for watching, everybody, and until next time.